What's going on, guys? Welcome back, man. This is Mike with the 1% Mindset podcast. And, for this going into the fall, I wanted to bring back guests. And, without further ado, we're going to speak to Gustavo. And, a lot of you may not know him, but this is someone you definitely need to know. So I'm excited to speak to him. I have you guys learn a little bit about not only his journey, but really where he came from to where he is now ultimately. And this is a gentleman I have tremendous amount of respect for. And I'll be honest, there's very few people that I really look up to and, really appreciate their journey and who they are authentically. And he's definitely one of them. So my brother, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. Long overdue.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. So I guess I want to start with the who you are, so to speak, right? At first, I wasn't going to go into there, but I think it's important for people to know just fundamentally when someone says, Gustavo, what do you want them to who are you?
I'm just the guy who did it. My story. I tell my story a lot on Instagram and on social media because my whole thing is the pedestal that society has created for success makes it seem like you need to be special to make things happen. And who I am is just a person who decided a decade ago that they didn't necessarily want to be in the limelight or anything like that, famous or celebrity, but they wanted that type of financial flexibility. And I wanted my family to know what it was like to live in a different way than how I lived. So, who am I? Gustavo Zapz. Who am I? A father, a husband, a friend, an entrepreneur, a guy that makes mistakes. And that's why I'm here today. I don't do these, right? I don't do podcasts. I don't do interviews. I don't do these types of things because I feel that I'm putting myself, in the limelight, in the center. But what I've discovered by speaking to people like you, who I respect your opinion, speaking to people like in my family, people need to hear that there's regular people in this world who live pretty decent lives and have achieved things that maybe others wouldn't believe is possible. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So, when my first interaction with you, we were in a network marketing company, and I will, I will say this. I will say network marketing, especially that particular company, kind of brought me to my journey here, right? It was the start of who I am. It forced me to personally develop. It forced me to lead. It created that atmosphere for me, right? And you were able to achieve high ranks within that company. So congratulations to that. But, if we're starting from the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, I'm not sure if it started with that company, but where do you think it actually started?
So it started with me dropping out of high school. That's where it started. That's something else that I like to focus on. The mistakes of life lead to the wins. And in high school, I remember that they came to the school, and I know you have programs with youth, and they need to hear this piece. When I was in high school, I had great grades, right? But my friends and my peers, they were all what I like to call bums, right? They're people with no real future. At that time, a lot of us could fall into one category or the other. And, I come from a Spanish household where an A is not enough and if an A plus exists. So, at some point that pressure did get to me. And I remember distinctly that Bank of America showed up to my high school. And I was so interested in actually doing the program they were offering. It was an internship. It was free. And then in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. This is for me. And all my friends around me was like, work for free? That's stupid. Who wants to be in a suit? Who wants to do this? We can get money different ways. And that was the first mistake that I can remember leading to what it is now. Because off of that, dropping out of high school, a lot of things happened afterwards, many mistakes, trying to fix things, trying to figure things out. And when it came down to it, when I made the decision to leave corporate America after graduating college, after being in corporate America, when I made that decision, I didn't listen to anybody else. I didn't listen to my peers. I listened to how I felt. So I think my entrepreneurial journey started that way. It started with what happened to me in high school, and everything that happened afterwards led up to that moment to make that decision. I got into real estate. My sister was crushing it in real estate. My sister was never the star of the household, but she was always the free thinker, right? She was always the one that made it happen. Being artistic and dancing and modeling. She never wanted anything else other than to be free. And when she was in real estate, I was like, let me give this thing a try. I got into real estate and I crushed it. And then I left. Why? Because of the time consuming aspect of real estate. And then I got it. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, have you ever heard of network marketing? They did what most people do, which is, hey, yo, man, we haven't spoken in so long. How are you? How's everything? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hey, everything's cool, man. I'm in real estate. They're like, yo, we need to go get dinner. And I said, all right, fine. I'm expecting dinner. And boom, exposed. They exposed me to a network marketing company where you had to buy deodorants and toothpaste and stuff. And I was like, but they got me. They got me with the lifestyle, right? They got me with we're going to help you. We're going to crush it together. And, I did pretty well in that company, but then I found the one that you're talking about and I hit some high ranks. But again, I left that industry too to find my final stop for at least that part of the internet side, which is trading.
So let me ask you, there's very few people, I think it's probably 1% of the company hit the rank you did, probably less than that. And to be quite frank, the industry numbers last I checked, I believe it's less than 5% make any money in network marketing. I think it's like $300 or less a month, right? And
yeah,
you were making 5 figures a month for that company at that time.
Yeah.
How do you think you were able to build that team, create that lifestyle? Because I'm assuming at that time that was the most money consistently you made per month.
100%. I mean, at some point in this conversation, I want to talk about corporate America. But yeah, what makes you hit a rank in these companies is two things. Either you're full of it and you're trying to get people to just churn through, or you are a workhorse that you're willing to speak to as many people as possible and build foundation in your teams. The stigma of network marketing, and if you follow me on social media, for anybody who doesn't know me, my opinions on network marketing coming from that industry. It's not coming from a blind perspective. I've been at the tops of companies, and the stigma there is that it's a scheme, it's a scam. But there's something in network marketing that's real. It's an opportunity. And if you work it the right way, you can really help people. You can really build. But the problem is what you said, that most people are not built to succeed in that industry because it requires a lot of talking. It requires a whole lot of time consumption, right? It's not as easy as people like to make it seem. And I think that what made me succeed in network marketing is the same thing that made me succeed in college, in corporate America, in real estate, and in trading, and in business, in everything. It's work. It's just a matter of, like I was telling you before we started, it's like a game. Are you playing the game tactically? And are you trying to get better each and every single day? If you're just pushing buttons, hoping that, you come out with that super combo, it's not, you're going to get lucky, but it's not sustainable, right? Somebody with some real skill is going to come through and destroy you. But in this game of entrepreneurial stuff, in network marketing, in trading, it's a daily grind to just get just a little bit better every single day. And it's work. It's all work. There is no such thing as easy money, because easy come, easy go is something my mom's been telling me since I was little, when she thought I may be going down the wrong path. And it's true. What comes easy, what you didn't work for, what you didn't earn, where your knowledge isn't based at, you'll eventually lose that.
Which is, so that's interesting. So that, and I think that's why I want to ask, because, and we'll go back to corporate America in a second, so we can speak about that. But when you hit that company, you started to make 5 figures. That was the most you made at the time. It was I'm sure, a significant jump between, doing that in corporate America. What was your mind like? How did it feel? Like, was there an adjustment period? Like, what is that like? What was that like, I should say?
So I remember I messaged one of the leaders in the company, somebody that I had a lot of respect for, and I go to her and I'm like, "Is this real?" Like I got the first check, and I'll never forget. It wasn't that much. I mean, it was like 5,000. Right, boom, came into the account. I don't want to sound like I'm disconnected, but I know it's money, right?
Yeah, yeah, no,
But
absolutely.
but at that time, 5,000 may have, well, it could have been 50,000. It was all the same to me as far as, wow, this is the biggest deposit I've ever gotten. Even in real estate, you never, like, the deals that I had, it wasn't like that. Like, I had to work and hustle for that. For the network marketing thing, it was talking, it was picking up the phone, it was maybe going to some meetings. It came a little too easy. So I was like, is this real? And she's like, yeah, it's real. Her Bentley, her Mercedes, her home. She'd been doing that for decades. So it's always an adjustment, and in every time that I feel like that next level, you got to get used to it. And it's about being consistent and working at it, because through it, you're going to have to deal with new problems, and you cannot be deterred. But if you were deterred in the beginning of your journey, that same person is going to come back to bite you later when you make the 5 to 10 to 15, when, like in trading, when you have that big trade. That's why, like I teach you and teach many, how you do anything is how you're going to do it all. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And in trading, I don't care if you're trading for $1 or you're trading for 100,000. You need to treat it all the same, because you're never going to get there. You know what I mean?
When you said, um, you said something specifically that slipped my head. Oh, when you mentioned, you just have to get used to it, right? When you see that money,
Yeah.
based on either my personal knowledge or what I've seen. Typically, when you hit that new level, you see a comma in your check for the first time, whatever that looks like. There's two main reactions. You either which is something that I did. You see it and it's like almost like a disbelief, so you kind of just like hold on to it, like you like hoard it, like you don't want to spend, you don't want to touch it, right? So
Yeah.
that kind of limits opportunities mentally, whether you want to reinvest or whatever, or it's like, man, this is money. Let me just throw it out. Let me, whatever that looks like for you. What was your
So
transition or your thoughts like how, what was used to it? Like, how did you get used to it to where it became just a natural or a normal thing, which, it is for you now?
making mistakes. I mean, again, the same thing. When I got that first check, I'll never forget. I told my wife. First of all, the first thing that happened to me was I cried quietly. in the I went to the bathroom. I'll never forget. We were in a family reunion, and I found out. That I had hit the rank, like a specific goal that I had in my mind. And I am very attached to entrepreneurial success. If I'm watching Shark Tank, I'm watching by myself. Nobody's watching with me, because I don't want my kids to see me choked up or nothing like that. If I could see, if I I've celebrated stuff with you in the inbox. I am very attached to people's success, especially in the entrepreneurial side of things, or when people chase more. Right, I like that. I like to see it. So, my reaction was first some tears by myself. I like to feel those emotions. I don't fight them. And then from there, it was spending. I told my wife, I'm like, we're getting a new bag. We're going to go eat. I took my kids on a shopping spree, and then the money was gone. And I did that a couple of times. So it's a learning journey, right? I felt that, let's say 5 was a lot of money. And then I felt 7,500 was a lot of money. Then I felt 10,000 was a lot of money. But you could spend that so fast if your materialism is up there. So for me, it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because we both know that the company eventually folded years later, like a year, 2 years later or something like that. And not having enough savings to keep up that lifestyle, also spreading myself out too thin, because I was helping my mom, I was helping my aunt, I was helping a friend. I was doing basically, if you know the Mike Tyson story, I was doing that on a much lower level, right? I was just kind of spending and spending and spending and not learning my lesson. So, like I was saying earlier, that those mistakes though set me up for the future, because if you know me now, you know I'm very different, right? I'm very more tactical about my money. I invest my money. I'm not greedy in that sense where everything is a next financial goal. It's more like an emotional thing for me, a comfort thing, a growth thing. And yeah, no, to answer your question directly, I spent it all Mike Tyson style.
So let's push back to corporate America then, right? Because it seems like at that time you had you made that money, you made great money, but it was more of a, hey, every 2 weeks this check is coming in, like a 9 to 5 mindset, which again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So kind of talk to me a little bit about that journey, right? Coming up into, being in that space and, where your mind was then, because I think it's definitely an interesting segue because you basically use some of that mindset. Yeah, you had that success. And like you said, having that success, as quick as it comes, it can go. Mm-hmm. Like what was that like, in that corporate space and, your lessons there?
So I didn't have it. I didn't have that mindset. I didn't have that entrepreneurial passion. So for me, it started with a little show called MTV Cribs. You ever watch that show?
Yeah, throwback, yeah. They're actually bringing it back, if I'm not mistaken.
Hopefully it's not all rented stuff. It's actually their actual homes. But I watched MTV Cribs, and at that point, I had a girlfriend or whatever, and I would be like, yo, this is going to be me, one way or the other. And she would say, oh, that doesn't happen to people like us, right? Mm. That's not realistic. They're artists. They sing, they rap, they act. They're beautiful people, whatever, right? They're athletic. I'm 6'3", but that guy's 6'7", so he has that leg up on playing basketball. Whatever. It was just a bunch of excuses. But if you hear that enough, and you see it in your own family, I'm proud of my parents. Immigrants came to this country, did put in work and built a life, right? But also come from humble beginnings. If you were sleeping on a farm on the floor, you just can't see yourself with Rick Ross's self-tanning bathroom, right? You're just, that doesn't click. But for me, they provided me a sustainable life, right? Something, we weren't rich or even middle class. We were poor, but at least we weren't hungry. So for me, at least I had a little bit of an up more than them. So I guess I could dream a little bigger. But all that watching and listening and letting people's opinions again seep into my mind, shut it all off for a lot of years. And I went to college. I did that. Again, nothing wrong with it. Like I'm gonna disclaimer this real quick. I'm gonna say things that you may not agree with, or somebody out there may not agree with, but you have to hear the whole thing, and you have to understand that anything that I say is from a personal opinion of happiness. What makes me happy? If a person wants to have 37 degrees and that's what is going to give them fulfillment, that's perfect. If they want to work in corporate America and they feel fulfilled and happy with their day-to-day and they wake up with a smile on their face, that's perfect. There is nothing better for them than what they're doing. But for me, when I was in corporate America, I did everything as I was told it was supposed to be done. Honors and the whole deal. Went to corporate America, 50, 60,000 a year. That was what you're supposed to get paid. And working 60 to 70-hour weeks. At the beginning, I was like, this is great. I'm going to be a manager, a district manager. I elevated quickly. People who were in that company for 10, 15 years, I was their boss by my second year. That's how fast it happened. And then I really started to feel that corporate grind where come in on the weekends became, instead of a suggestion or can you help us, it became, no, you're coming in on the weekends. And then they dangle the job right in front of you. Like, you sure you don't want to come in? The economy's tough, which they've been saying that for 30 years. I feel like that's always been a thing. The economy's tough, as in there's not a lot of jobs out there, so you better show up on holidays, on the weekends. Oh, you planned your daughter's birthday. That doesn't matter, right? You planned your son's birthday. At that time, my daughter wasn't even born. My son, his birthday. That doesn't matter. You're going to come in. That's your work. That's your day. If you can't find coverage, if you can't complete a project, because it's just insane the amount of time they're asking you to put in. It took me some time to figure out that I wasn't really living the life that I wanted. And the story that I think I've told you and I tell everybody was my turning point, where I was waking up every morning, and this sounds insane, but I would be like, if I launch myself down these stairs, I'm going to get hurt and I'll collect disability, and at least I don't have to do this crap for at least 3 months. That's where my mind was going. I would be going to work, right? Take the PATH train. It was in World Trade Tower 3 in the city, right? So right across the street from where the towers fell. And I would have to look at that every day, and you know, those lives that were lost there, I would think about, like, you know, did they go with regret, right? Did they live fulfilled lives? Were they happy, right? When all that is happening, do you have the time to think and say, you know what, I had a good life. It is what it is. And I would walk, and I would try to keep a positive mindset. I'm walking over that overpass over the West Side Highway. I don't know if you've ever walked on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a long walk, and then in the winter, it's a cold walk,
Yeah.
and that it's freezing, and I'm feeling more and more miserable as I get to those doors, and then they have a marble floor. I don't know if it's still there, but they have a marble floor, and I was wearing dress shoes, and when the moment my foot would hit that marble, it would be like if you just injected me with I don't know, sadness medication or something would hit me where I'm like, I hate this. I hate my life. And then, you know, I started lashing out at home. My wife, she was like, you know, what was going on with you? Because my personality is, I'm aggressive at times, right? I'm aggressive when it comes to work. I'm aggressive when it comes to what I want. But I'm also playful in the sense of I like to make fun of things, and, you know, I like to laugh. That wasn't happening back then, man. Back then, I was miserable, and you know, the checks weren't cutting it, and then the lifestyle was check to check, and then it wasn't enough, and then I found out I was going to have my daughter, and a lot of things happened during that time. I had a conversation with a very influential person in that company. I'm not going to say his name, but he basically told me that what I'm doing right now is not making me happy. And if I look around to everyone that's here, I can be them at some point. And if I'm not okay with that, then I need to make some moves. Go out there in the world and make mistakes. Go out there in the world and express yourself. You know, express your thoughts, your ideas. Be you, and you'll be surprised what happens. So after that conversation, very little time passed. Found out my daughter was going to be born, and then I just started looking, man. I started looking inside and looking out there, and my sister made it real easy for me because she opened the door a little bit, right? She made me believe, and then those thoughts started coming in. You know, she got herself a nice little car. She got herself her little, you know, Dior glasses or whatever, and I'm like, I'm not into that, but I understand the financial flexibility of it. So I said, you know what? Let's take this leap of faith, and it is what it is.
How do you think that you know, I see it a lot, you know, dad of the year, and, you know, family is extremely important
Yeah.
to you, right? And I think,
Yeah.
you know, probably one of the tops, you know, in terms of your priority list. Uh, what was it like knowing, you know, being unhappy? You mentioned lashing out at home, finding out, you know, your daughter is going to be born, missing your son's birthday, as you're starting to transition, right, into the unknown, right? And typically we fear the unknown, especially with a daughter coming and another child coming. What was that like? What was that conversation like with your wife, and really kind of stepping into something new?
So this is a critical thing for me. If your spouse isn't supportive, you are basically screwed, right? And if they think of life in a selfish way, like, for example, if I would have came to her and been like, listen, I think I want to do real estate, and she was like, but the bills and the this and the that, and she starts freaking out on me, you're not helping me, right? You're making it worse. Mm-hmm. She was extremely supportive. She was the suggester, right? So one thing she knows about me, you know, not to go too far in the past, but she was my supervisor at one point, so she knows my work ethic. This was way before in a totally different place. That's how I met her at a random job, and I basically used her as my battery because she believed in me. She was that first person after so many years. It started happening all at once. You know, I had conversations with influential people. I had a conversation with family. I had a conversation with her, and everyone's like, go do it, right? Give it a shot. You know, a lot of belief there. And that started triggering me to remember who I was, right? And then a lot of the things that happened positively in my life, maybe they weren't exactly what I wanted, but they were still better than as production wise, right? Like execution wise than most people. And I firmly believe that if your spouse isn't right and you're trying to make change and you got some big things going on in your life and you're trying to elevate, they will drag you down because We all have moments of weakness. It's impossible to be totally on point all the time. And when you are having a simple conversation in bed, or you're sitting on the couch or dinner, and they're dropping those negative nuggets in your ears, you're in trouble.
So as you started to work these crazy hours, not just in corporate, but even in the entrepreneurial world, you said she was supportive, and I think it's huge. But I do want to highlight something, especially as you're working these hours. What was that support like? Because obviously you're losing, and my assumption, right? I don't know if it's not the case now, but when you're learning the skill of trading, stuff like that, spending all these, probably the same amount, if not more hours, learning the skill than you were at your corporate job. What was that dynamic like? And how was that support there as you were doing that, and probably missing some things?
So I've never been the one. Once I became an entrepreneur, I'm not doing one thing anymore, right? Mm-hmm. I'm spreading my reach out there. So at that time, I wish there was Uber, Lyft, Instacart, Grubhub, because I would have been learning how to trade and also doing these gigs, right? It would have been a much smoother ride. But it was tough, but she never faltered. I could see it in her eyes. She's getting a little nervous. She was like, go back to network marketing, right? These people are chasing you down. I would get phone calls and offers placed on the table. What people don't know is that in network marketing, that happens, right? You sign on the dotted line, you get preferential treatment, you might get some money, whatever. They call it a brand ambassador. That's what they call it. So there was offers there, and I just didn't want to do something that I know didn't make me happy for the dollar. But she never slipped up. Where she did get aggressive was time management. I've always said that you don't need your whole day to do something. You just need to use your time wisely. And that means if I'm journaling, or I'm making content for the group, or I'm with a student, or I'm trying to make an ebook, or I'm trying to make some training, or I have a business plan that I have to build, or I have some numbers that I have to crunch, that's what I'm doing. If I go on Instagram, at that time Facebook, and I start scrolling around and then maybe arguing with people, or trolling, or looking at celebrity lives, then I'm not using my time wisely. And you would think that, it's just 15 minutes. But those same 15 minutes could get you faster to end whatever it is you got to do right now. And then you have an extra 15 minutes to spend time with your spouse, with your family, and they don't feel it as bad. What I've noticed and what I've learned, because she put me in my place, is basically at that time, I was doing everything I got to do, but I'm also wasting time on Facebook. I'm also wasting time on Instagram. I'm also, I could curse on here, right? Bullshitting on social media. So there were definitely some tense conversations, but it was never about the amount of work that I would put in on the charts. When I first started, I would spend, this sounds crazy to say, but 36 hours was the longest that I spent at the computer. On one screen, I had some anime. On the other screen, I had my charts. And I would watch the charts and stare at the screen and write stuff down, stop watching anime, put on some training that I found on YouTube, go back to the charts, kind of look around. We call it back testing, journaling, stuff like that. And those things were all necessary. But when I think about it, if I would have just left the anime alone, maybe I would have been able to get it done a little faster. So time management was the biggest problem. And she put me in my place. That had to be done. Again, a supportive spouse isn't necessarily somebody who is agreeing with you. Sometimes they have to open up your eyes, like, hey, you're not as much of a workhorse as you think you are, because you're bullshitting 25% of the time, which is the same time that she's asking for so I can spend time with my family.
No, I definitely appreciate that vulnerability. I wanted to definitely spend some time, in the family space, because, you attribute a lot of your time freedom and what you have and your reason, to them, and being able to be with them. So touch a little bit on corporate America, network marketing. Now, what you're known for, what people know you for, is trading, ultimately. Yeah. How did you get into that space?
So during the network marketing time, I don't know about these companies. I was only in 2 companies, but one thing that I realize is this isn't mine. So if something happens, I'm screwed. And those thoughts, I believe that the universe speaks. You know, I believe in God and spirituality, and I believe in the universe and energy, and people's ideas can transfer over. So if you have an idea, act on it, because somebody else in that room that's sensitive to stuff like that might pick up. So I remember distinctly sitting one day and saying to myself, this is too easy. Now, I could have said it's talent, or I could say it's the model of the business. Fast money, no foundation, it goes away. That's just the way it works. It has no foundation. So I remember distinctly thinking about that in a meeting. Somebody said something and it triggered some thoughts. You know, I listen to everything. I pay attention to everybody. So the person's basically speaking there, and I'm like, wow, what if this goes away? What if it goes away? Nah, no way it doesn't go away. And then maybe like 2 months later, the system, the back office dies. And when people aren't paying their auto ship, your business is dying. And we had to rebuild it again. Then there was a huge New York meeting. And again, the conversation was the back office that was coming, and already we were having problems again. That was the second time. And at that point, I'm like, all right, Gustavo, if you do not do something here, right, you're going to get put in a position you really don't want to be in. It was a little too late at that point. But at that point, I started kind of snooping around the trading stuff. I was already doing options, and there's different kind of like gambling trading that's not really trading. But I was starting to kind of like fall into that. The thing with my story is that my sister, the same girl that I was telling you about, you know, I can tell you crazy stories about her. She told me about trading back before I even got into corporate America. She was working at a job that she shouldn't have been in, right? She was a bartender, and she wasn't even legal. So she met some guy who was a trader, had a nice watch and had the nice glasses, at that time the Prada leathers, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he had the whole deal, right? And she's like, oh, what do you do? He's like, oh, I trade currency. She's like, what the hell is that? She gave him a book. I still have that same book. She bought that book, and I remember we were all there, cousins, myself, made fun of her. She's that's not real. There's no way that makes money. If that was that easy, everybody would do it. Blah blah blah. Years passed, and it started coming in front, like on the internet again. Like at that time, the internet was it wasn't boomed like it is now, right? With social media, everybody's an influencer, everybody's a motivator, everybody's rich. You know, it wasn't like that just yet. And you know, I started seeing it. I started kind of snooping around, bought some training, did some things. I would mess around, but I wasn't really trading. When that company folded, I started scrambling, right? Because I had very little money left, and I had to do something. So it was a tough ride there.
Okay. So that's essentially the start of it, right? From then to now, right? In between that, there's a lot of stuff that happened during your trading career, right? So instead of me starting, what do you think your first, I guess, aha was, where it's like, yo, I can actually do this for real. I can start, you know, I can create a life with this, right? At first, it was something you were learning, you were spending time, or was this always like, yo, this is my thing?
So I knew it was for me because I didn't feel confused, right? So like a lot of the times when I would start things, I had to get used to the speed and tempo of things. I had to get used to the environment. With network marketing, it was the amount of people who want to talk to you. That is an insane part of that business. And the how you have to be so available. With real estate, same thing. If your phone rings on Sunday at 8:00, that could be money calling. And I just didn't know how to control my schedule at that time. I didn't know how to control my own time. So it felt really overwhelming, fast paced. I always felt like I was on the run all the time. You know, you're showing an apartment, you're going up the stairs, you feel rushed 24/7. When I started trading, I felt calm. It was just me and the market. Win or lose, getting slaughtered, that didn't matter to me. It felt right in my wheelhouse. It was just me and the computer, me and the phone, me and the training, me and the journal, right? I didn't have to rely on anybody. And that's how I knew immediately that it was for me, because it was skill-based. And so is network marketing, and so is real estate, and so is sales, and so is corporate America. They're all skill-based. but it was a skill that was perfect for my personality. I realized that this is where I want to be when I caught my first $1,000 trade, right? $1,000 on an American platform that does basically a form of option contracts, and I made $1,000 in one day on a contract on gas, right? On that, and I remember how excited I was, and I was like, $1,000, and this is real, and this is banks, and this is financial institutions, and this is Wall Street. This is that old money right in front of me, right? Things that other people don't understand. I remember in college, the economic classes and finance courses. Those were my jam. That and psychology, that's what I love. History and all that, and chemistry, I hated that crap. But like I told you, in high school, Bank of America came to the school, and I loved it, and I was so excited to do it. But because it was an internship and it was free, and everybody around me was saying it was corny, I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's corny. It's corny. Yeah, fuck that. I don't want to do that. But in reality, I did. So, I think life gave me the gift of getting back into that world.
Mm. It's interesting that you pieced that high school experience together, because that ultimately probably was that first aha that you didn't even realize at the time.
Exactly. I was too busy trying to fit in.
Mm. So now, so you start that, you kind of get in the mode. You have a partner at the time. I think two partners. You start a company, or you do a training platform for a little bit. You don't need to go into details necessarily about the partnership or what happened, but that's when you start to take on people for the first time, at least to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? What was that like? What was that like? Now you're starting to train in a space that you kind of tested out for a few years. You're back with dealing with people in a sense. Like, what was that experience like?
It was okay. Okay. So the first thing is, those two people that I was in business with, I am still very close friends with, and they are big in their own industries, right? In their own lanes. Taking people on, a lot of this stuff really wasn't my choice, right? So if it was up to me, I would just be trading and nobody would know who I am and all that good stuff. But there's a part of me that really connects to people's success, like I was saying before. I don't know what it is. I think I see myself in a lot of people. I know what it feels like to have to go to the pawn shop and pawn your chain, pawn your PlayStation. My mom gave me a graduation gift. It was a Cartier pen, and I had to sell it because I didn't have enough money to pay the rent. So when someone came to me like, hey, can you teach me? I'm like, I don't teach people. Like, that's not what I do. So I left that alone. And then somebody else came to me with an idea, one of my business partners, with an idea to start a group. And I'm like, I'm me, right? I only know how to do what I do. How am I going to teach people? And he's like, just tell them how to get in the market and stuff like that. I'm like, I really don't want to do that, right? They call that signals. So I did it tentatively, like we tested it, and it went really, really well. And again, like you said, I don't really like people like that. Like, I get very overwhelmed when people are trying to control my time. I don't like it. That's why I got out of corporate America. So I was in the Pocono Mountains in the cabin, and it was a Sunday, and it was 3-something in the afternoon, and people just kept messaging me because we had a great run and we were winning, right? So what happens with signals is that people become very reliant on what you got to do, right? And if you feel like today, you know what, I'm sick, or things happen in life, they don't want to hear it. They paid for a service. Where are you? Respond, right? It's very like, I command you, right? So I was like, you know what? This isn't for me. The signal service, the whole educational platform the first time worked out just fine. It was more that we had built it in a way that didn't agree with who I am as a person. And at first, the money and the success is all fun, and I'm helping people and stuff. But again, sustainability is very dependent on how you match with what you're doing. So if your emotional and mental is not right in what you're doing, no amount of money is going to cure that. I just don't believe that's the case. I think you have to find things that fit you. And that's how people become super successful at what they do because it's right in their wheelhouse. And at that point, it just becomes work, consistent work, quality work.
By that time, was the I'm assuming the lifestyle spending, the frivolous spending, kind of subsided. Like I guess once you went through that big, breakup with the network. Well, you didn't go through a breakup. I guess the entire company went through a breakup.
Yeah, they kicked us out. That's what happened.
Yeah. Okay. So now you currently built. So you take a step back from that a little bit. You're doing a lot of one-on-one, personal coaching. I was the beneficiary for one of one of your early stage ones, I should say. I don't know how early it was, but
I think it was like the second year or something like that.
Yeah, so it was pretty quick. It was pretty quick. I was, and again, I was at the time I was excited. I made, I think in like a day, we spoke about this the other day. I got, technically it was a little skill, but mostly luck, right? That I made like $2,000 in like 20 minutes.
I remember. Yeah, I remember. Right? Asian session.
Yes, exactly. And at the time, I used to stare at the charts like 24/7. Like didn't go to sleep. So I was a watered down version of you at the time. Ultimately, which essentially kicked me out of the market period for a few years. Yeah. But so you started taking on clients. You started seeing one-on-one clients, and then now you built Pipsology FX, right? And I want to cut because that's ultimately your bread and butter right now. And I think it's 3 years running now.
Yeah. No, we're going on our 4th year in November.
4 years running, almost 4 years. Okay, 3.5, almost 4 years. Wow, I didn't realize how long it was. Sheesh. Okay.
Time flies, man.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, what was the start? What was the start of that? And I just for the viewers, Gustavo has built a platform of 200 plus, probably almost 300, maybe more than that, people that are in this community that's teaching. You're teaching the skill of actual trading, right? So it's not network marketing. People aren't, bringing people in and creating uplines or anything like that. It's just people who see the value, the quality of what you provide, and are willing to pay each and every month. How did that start?
So at that time, I had visceral hate for network marketing, right? Because it basically almost ruined my life, right? I had to do a lot of things that were uncomfortable. So I wasn't planning on ever doing anything in a group format ever again. That wasn't going to happen. But again, a lot of the things that have happened to me are because I listen, right? I listen to the world. I listen to people, not in a let me hold you down kind of way, but let me see what positive thing I can get out of a person's opinion, their experiences, whatever it may be. So I had a student. Basically, he was like a student at that time, and he was good at what he did, but he needed some other work. So there's psychology in trading, there's technical, there's certain approaches. And he said, "Hey, why don't we do it this way? Because my ability to teach people, without sounding like an asshole, is pretty damn good. So I can get through to people. If I listen to you and I understand you and I know your life situation, I know how to explain it in a way, or at least try different ways to get through to you on some stuff, right?" And he basically told me, "Look, we're not gonna do signals. This isn't financial advice. It never is. But it's going to be really core on education." The other thing that was important to me was no hype, no lifestyle, right? There came a time where I was making more money than I was willing to share with the public, or especially family, because that brings issues, right? So I was just calmly doing what I'm doing. And he goes, "Hey, look, you teach people one-on-one. People have been asking for some sort of community, something like they wanted to group all the students together in like a messenger." I think you even said that to me. Put everybody in a messenger, and that way all my students can communicate together and stuff. But I didn't want that because I didn't want to turn it into something where it was more time consuming. So this student, his name is Jonathan. He's now he's my business partner. He's half and half in Pipsology FX. And he basically said, look, listen, we'll do it this way. We'll do it exactly how you want. You'll share your daily thoughts. You'll share, your, a little bit of forecasting. It's not financial advice. If they want to follow, they can follow. But the main goal here is education. And that's how it began. Now, at first, it was going to be, here's a screenshot, here's some words, shoo, bye. Like, it was going to be that. But again, I am addicted to people's success. Like, I thoroughly enjoy that. Everybody talks about impact, right? People complain about wanting to change the world and wanting to, they complain about the injustices of the world, which obviously they exist. But to me, it begins with how you treat the person that's like right in front of you. And if they want to learn how to trade and they just want to know how to start, they just want to know how to begin, offer them that, right? Offer them just that. There's people out there that don't need to know how much you make. I've been on private jets. I've been in the penthouses. I've done the whole dance as far as lifestyle to get people into certain businesses or to buy certain things. With this company, I have not done that. I am not going to do that. That is not what I want. So we've built this strictly on skill, what we call skill over hype. Skill over hype, meaning if you don't want to learn, this is not the place for you. If you want like meetings and phone calls and somebody to really like hype you up and tell you you're going to be able to do this, brother, and it's going to be perfect and this is so easy, turn your phone into an ATM, then you're in the wrong place because I'm the wrong guy for that. What I tell people is pretty simple. If right now you're looking for something else, and for a lot of people that's trading, especially, I've been doing this way before this, the crypto hype and all that stuff. I like to tell people I started this when Obama was still president, right? When Obama still had nice, dark, silky hair before he got all gray, this is when I started. So with Pipsology Effects, the main concern there is how are they joining? Because that's the only way we can get people who can actually be successful on that platform. They have to join based on education. They have to know this might take months. This might take years, depending on who you are, what your life is like. Again, if I don't know you, I can't promise you anything. And it's worked out. I mean, is it easy this way? No, but it's sustainable. And I can do this for 10 years. I can do this for 20 years because it's within my schedule. I go to the gym, right? I'm with my family. I travel. I do whatever I want. And the group still gets their daily content. They still get their attention. I never how people like leave you on scene. I don't do those things. I make sure that everyone is taken care of, but my way. So Pipsology Effects was the perfect platform for me because I made sure it was perfect, right? I made sure it fell right into what I needed. And Jonathan, again, a person who, I equate it to family and, the same thing like my wife or people like you. You have to listen to people. Even as a student, I still listen. And yeah, was it easy for him to convince me? No, but eventually he did, and I'm glad he did.
How long do you think it took you to feel 100% comfortable in the charts? And I get everyone's different. How long do you think it took you to feel like?
Well, in the beginning, I thought it was immediate. But the type of trading that I was doing at that time required liquidity. It required momentum in the market. So for a long time, what I was doing was working just fine. And then the summer came, and in the summer, the market kind of dies out. And it's not like it is now. Now that market moves and moves and moves and moves. Back then, the market would have lulls, right? It would kind of calm down. And what I was doing wasn't going to work as well. And it was going to kind of, dip the money down. And that did hit my confidence. So once I moved over to, understanding more foundation, less strategy and one-trick pony, more like a well-rounded understanding, which didn't take much. It just took some time, some attempts. It's the same thing. I was just adjusting. I'm going to say by my second year, I felt really comfortable. But to this day, regardless of how much winning I do, the success stories and stuff like that, am I really that comfortable? I don't think so. The reason I say that is because I hold myself accountable to daily work, right? I hold myself to check those charts you know me, right? I'll tell you, hey, where you at, right? I'll reach out to you when I haven't seen you for a day or two because you're busy, you got stuff going on. But for me, it's important for me to walk the talk, right? So I'll tell people daily accountability, right? I don't need your whole day. The charts don't need your whole day, but you should at least be in the game a little bit so that you don't acquire that rust. You know what it's like to take a break, try to come back and get used to it again. So I don't think I'm ever going to be 100% comfortable, and I also don't want to be, right? I want to feel like I'm always chasing that next level of skill, and that holds me to daily work, and that holds me to being great in the group, because if I'm working, then I'm thinking for them also. I'm providing them new educational avenues, ways to get through certain points. So I think to answer that question, the second year, but I'm never really going to be too comfortable. I'm always going to be on my toes and paying attention and things like that.
The success rate in Forex is slim. It's like, I don't know, 10%, something. I think it's less than that. Something really slim.
Yeah.
Why do you think most people fail?
I think it's for the same reason most people fail in everything. Most people fail in these in sales, right? I got a friend of mine who owns a lot, right? New cars, old cars, crappy cars. He sells it all there, and they hire 30 people a month, and one of them will stay, right? Real estate, horrible industry. Real estate is a destroyer. Like people get their licenses, and they'll never make one sale. I mean, I made a joke last week that the person knew I was talking about him, where he was. I didn't use his name, but he knew I was talking about him. Where he would be in the office all day, not getting any kind of money, nothing. But he wanted to be in real estate, and the truth is, it's not meant for everybody. So, I think that what is again the difference for me is expectation, right? The difference in a lot of people why they fail in things is expectation. They come in, they got their license, or they got their certification, or they got the screens, or they bought some education, or they read a book, whatever, and they're like, let's kill it. They run into this thing 30, 60 days. They're going all out. They're super excited. They're telling everybody. They can't shut the hell up about it. And then they find that it's not as easy as they thought, right? They weren't prepared for that. They weren't prepared to pivot. They weren't prepared to deal with this for 6 months. And again, I am going to go back to the original statement. If it's not for you, and you could see yourself not doing this in 2, 3, 4 years, whatever that thing is, just quit. Just leave it, because you're not going to be able to sustain through those hard times. And they never really end, because you get used to what you're doing. Like if you're making $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, you will get used to that, and you will desire that next level. And if that's a struggle, I mean, you may not be able to last. It may not be good enough for you. You may decide, you know what? You may start getting lazy, and that's just not conducive to success in the long term.
Okay, so with that being said, do you think that you can speak for you as well as like your overall thought process? Do you have to have a love for both the lifestyle of the results and the charts, or can one supersede the other? Like, hey, I really enjoy the time freedom, so I'm going to do this. Or do you have to have a love for both?
I think that the most important one that has to supersede the other one is the lifestyle for that thing that you're doing, that skill, right? That desire to be better. I think everything else just comes with it. If I'm good at something, people will find me. I never wanted to be an educator. People came to me because I was doing it for free, like on Instagram. I was on, at that time, Facebook. I was doing it for free on Twitter, right? I would just put out screenshots and just talk trading, and in my own way, right? Making fun of things, making fun of other people's, who were expert traders, right? I would make fun of them and then dissect what they were doing and then teach through that, right? In my own way. So people pick up on these things and they will find you. I was never really thinking about the money like that. I've always been the guy who undercharges and over delivers. Like that's been me in everything. It works for me. I think that being in love with money, being in love with materialistic things is a trap for most people
Well,
because
well, not necessarily money. So maybe I said life. What if it's freedom? So, for example, right,
okay,
like
freedom.
you said, you enjoyed like dissecting what people were doing, et cetera, et cetera. And I can look at someone, initially. Let's have some like me, for example, right? Like I can look at the charts and I can, go through it and stuff like that. What ultimately I seek or I feel or I want is that freedom aspect, right?
Okay.
But it's not necessarily like, I love looking at bars go up and down, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Oh no
what
no.
is there like? Is that like? I don't want to say a love of yours, but like, is that something like you thoroughly enjoy and that has helped your success, which ultimately you want, this lifestyle, this freedom, what that looks like? Like, do you think that you have to have a love for both for it to really be a success?
Yeah, because what's success going to look like if you get there? And will you be able to sustain it? Success in trading could be very quiet and anonymous, right? So it could be you're crushing it. And I know we're going to get to this at some point, but last week, the anonymity of what I do got taken away from me real quick. And I spoke to you and I was like, oh, I don't like this, right? So when I was thinking about success in trading, no, I don't. I'm not like infatuated with bars going up and down, but the success of it is going to be however I want it to be. If I want to be loud about it, I can be loud about it. There's nothing wrong with it. If I want to be quiet about it, I can be quiet about it. I can dress how I want, do what I want, right? I'm not really the Versace chains guy, right? I'm more the expensive slides that you may not know what they are, but they're still slides and socks, right? So I'm more that guy. So I think that it's extremely important to know what success is going to look like to you and to match it to what it is you're doing. There's a reason why I really don't do podcasts and I don't do stuff like that because God forbid something hits and I go viral, then my life is not my own, and I don't know how I would be able to handle that. I don't know, just the idea of I'm also very opinionated, and I've thought about this also. Will those opinions be able to survive in the climate that we live in now? Right? When maybe it's not 1,000 people watching me on a daily basis, 2,000 people or whatever. Now it's 10,000. God forbid, 100,000 people. They're watching me, and everything that I say and do. And sometimes I put my own foot in my mouth because I say what I want. Am I going to get canceled? You know what I'm saying? Is it going to transfer over to hate to my family and things like that? These are the things. What you're saying is extremely insightful because it's important. When you're picking what you want to do, you have to think big, right? What is success going to look like to me if I get there? What am I going to do with that? And will I be happy? Because again, if you get into something and you start kind of doing well, stuff comes with that money, right? Stuff comes with all those beautiful things that people think about. That Lambo comes with problems, right? That private jet flight comes with problems. The jewelry, right? The stuff you wear, it comes with problems. A simple one. You're making money, your family's broke. Let's say your cousins, your auntie, people you don't even talk to, right? They're broke. What do you think is going to happen? Phone calls. And if you don't give them anything, because that's just not what you do, right? Because you know that when you lend money out, you're risking that relationship. If you don't give them anything, you're an asshole, right? In their eyes, and you're stuck up, and they don't know how much you suffered to get there. They don't know the PlayStation is somewhere in somebody else's hand because you pawned it off, right? They don't know that you were eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for a week straight because you had nothing, right? So they don't know about the tuna in a can where you're trying to figure it all out. They don't know that. So I do firmly believe that you need to know what success is going to look like in that industry that you're in or trying to pick before you actually go all in. And if you don't consider that, that means that you're thinking too small. You're thinking like, how am I going to pay this bill? Or, that's just not enough in my mind. You got to, what's that cliche saying? Shoot for the stars, you land on the moon or something like that. That. I don't even know if I answered your question, but I hope I did.
No, absolutely. I mean, a lot of what you said was extremely insightful and extremely important, right? So, there's a lot of value in that space, and I think that what I got out of that ultimately is uh, based on what success looks like for you will ultimately determine, you know, where you'll ultimately take it, right? So even in my case with, you know, with trading, ultimately trying to acquire a certain freedom, right? And numbers are numbers, right? So someone can make $5 grand a month and, you know, feel free versus 50, depending on your lifestyle, obviously, right? Um, but making sure that, you know, the love of having a love of both is definitely in balance and in tune. You don't necessarily have to love that, like you said, the up and down of the bars, but you know, the process, the skill set, the strategy, right? That is kind of, you know, what you're in love with, so to speak.
Yeah.
The control that you
The
have,
control.
you know, is huge. So I definitely got that. So now let's kind of speak to, when you brought it up, the business of trading and the what is it, the leaderboard, so to speak. So many people may not know and I don't even, what is it, FTMO? I believe that's what it's was it an FTMO or what exactly?
Yeah, so there's these companies. See, the industry has evolved, right? So when I started, this wasn't even this was not happening. Basically, there's companies out there that you can pass their verifications, right? They got these multi-verification steps, then they will provide you an account to trade. Some of these companies invite, others allow you to just pay, basically pay to play. You trial their tests and stuff. And if you fail, they keep the money. It's part of the business model. If you pass, they give you money to trade, and it's a percentage split. So 70-30, 80-20, 90-10, depending on the company, right? And your relationship with them. So I've been doing this too long, so I don't need that, right? I had to build it on my own. But because of students and group members and stuff, I just wanted to make sure that they paid out. I know that they do. So I'm not promoting them. We have no relationship. So there's plenty of companies out there. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you read those contracts. There's things hidden in the contracts about things like margin and timing and news. So you need to know. It's not just like how you sign up for a game or something. You need to actually read those contracts. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna take the test. I'm gonna see what it's like. That way, I'm speaking from a place of experience, and not like most people. They're just talking shit of something somebody else said, and then now it's fact somehow. So I decided weeks ago to kind of try it out. I wasn't really using it. It was sitting there. And it just so happens that there's one thing that triggers me. I have very thick skin, and I call myself untrollable. You can't make me upset with words. I'm not snowflakey like that. It's really hard to make me upset with words. There's only certain things you can say to me. But there's been certain things that are going on in the world in Latin American culture that I feel are totally ignored by America when other things get paid more attention to. And I also have always felt that Latin America, our culture doesn't get as much attention as I think it should at times. So regardless, I had someone in the inbox who really got under my skin because he said some racist things. And one thing about me is I've evolved over the years, and I used to be a king troll. Like if you made me upset, I would roast you for a month until you begged me to stop, right? And I would get personal. Because if you try to get personal with me, I'm going to show you what that's like to a different level. Because there's no like threshold with me. I'm going to do it until I've broken every single rule and all that good stuff. So I stopped doing that. It's been years, right? I grew up. I got smart. I started using my time more wisely. My wife was tired of me being on the phone, you know, like trolling people and roasting people for freaking 24 hours. So you know, he said some racist stuff. And the thing that people don't understand, again, why I don't want to be, why I've never, if it happens, it happens. But I'm not aiming to have such a huge following where everyone's in my business, is because people do say things that are nasty. It's, if at my level it happens with 20,000, whatever, you know, like it's going to happen. And you got to get used to it. And for whatever reason, when I say something, people will always respond. I think it's the way that I say things. And this person got real personal, talked about my wife, talked about my kids, talked about, you know, he used certain keywords, you know, told me to go build his roof and, other stereotypes. And I was like, you know what? I got time today. I remember I was feeling good, man. I got out of the gym. The testosterone is real high. I just got finished sparring. I was feeling real good. And this guy, just wrong place, wrong time for him. He got racist. And I said, you know what? I went to his Instagram. I looked around. Of course, a loser, just a plain loser. And I was like, you know what? I told him, that I can make what you make in a year. I could probably do that in a week. And I knew that I have this $100,000 account just laying there waiting for me. I'm not stupid. I was ready. And he's like, he said what he said. I was like, I'll be back later. Right. That's what I said to him. I'll be back later. So I got on the charts. I'm also smart enough to know that there was some setups that we were talking about in the group that were ready to start unraveling. Right. So everything was perfectly timed. That's the years of the trolling. The years of the trolling that you got to be steps ahead of them to win this little argument here. So I go to him. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. So I don't use those accounts. And I made 30 grand in 4 days. And that company just so happens to have just installed a leaderboard. And those leaderboards are public. So my name is known in our little community, right? It's not a Gustavo Z. It's not that hard to figure out who that person is. So I got a bunch of inboxes from people because, these prop accounts are popular right now. It's a huge opportunity. So people were in my inbox and I got really nervous. I was like, what the hell is going on? How do people know? And yeah, man, it got put out there. And again, I don't enjoy that. I mean, we had a very long conversation about what was going on because it goes against everything I believe. I don't think that people should buy my courses because I make money. It should be understood that I make money. It should be so overwhelmingly obvious that I know what I'm doing. That is how, in my opinion, you sell education. By doing it and showing people that you can get it done, that you can teach people. And the way that we built Pipsology is simply the student, the client, the community member, their results, their experience is what matters to me and what should matter to other people. The day before that happened, I spoke about a gentleman that I worked with 4 years ago who he is a monster in his community. He's used trading to fund projects in his community, build a financial wellness center, help build his church, has, he does like charitable work. He is what I envisioned in my mind when I started teaching people. I didn't want people who were going to be, the next, whatever influencer with chains, the next Jake Paul, chains and, being extra just for the sake of following and attention. I wanted to create impact, right? If I help this person become something more because they desire it, not because I want that, but because they are asking me to help them with this thing, I know that if they are able to make it happen, that money is going to be used to create impact. And he did exactly what I thought he would do because I knew him, right? I know you, right? I know these people. So that post got attention, but it didn't get as much attention as me being on that leaderboard, not even close. And that's what got under my skin. It gets under my skin because I don't understand how a person's whole life being improved, right? Them now passing it on to others, right? And helping his community, which is a community that doesn't get a lot of help from the city. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Air quotes, the hood, right? They don't get that attention. They, potholes, and it's that oppression, man, that lack of balance that exists in this country. So when that happened, people would think I'd be excited. I'd be happy. I was the opposite, right? I felt like I was scrambling to like kill the story, right? Because what I like to focus on is others, man. I know that that's the right way to do it. I know not everybody agrees. And I know people are going to say, oh, it's important for them to know how much you make. But I've been doing this for so long. So unless I am working somewhere else and finding time to do this and finding time to do all the other things, how am I making it happen? Because the group is not large enough to sustain the lifestyle that I have. And I don't know. I still feel that testimonials is where it's at. That's how I'm going to live and die by that.
And I think that's a great point, man. That's huge. think impact continues to thrive. And ultimately, it's why you have the group in the first place, like you said, because if you could just be by yourself and make money without people, I'm sure that's that's what you prefer, right? And
Yeah.
not really having to deal with people. But, when we had that conversation and you didn't control the story, so to speak, and like you said, it had you scrambling, I'm interested to know if, because, and I want to see if I want to word this correctly, because I think this is important. Now there's a certain, do you think that it created expectations of people for you, right? Like now there's like, oh, he's doing this. Now there's a forced expectation that either you didn't want or now that's there. Is that something that, maybe whether subconsciously or not, possibly crossed your mind to why you've kind of felt overwhelmed?
100%. Culture is big in marketing and business. When you have a company, culture is in your company. And for us, it's about skill over hype. And the moment that people start, battery went out.
That's all good.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
All right. So it's the moment that people start focusing on me, it's a problem. The moment that people start seeing these numbers, remember, I've been doing this so long that I've done the other side, right? Where I'm like talking too much about what I'm doing, right? It's an evolution as a student, as an educator, as a business, as a trader. You're always evolving, getting better, fixing things to fit you a little better, right? So for me, I've already seen it, right? Where the person, I've already experienced this, right? The person's running a normal account growth, and now it's not enough. When 2 weeks ago they were very happy, and that is exactly what I didn't want. So it was important for me to say it in the group, like, we continue the work, and what I'm doing is what I know has been happening. This isn't new to me, right? That's why I'm not excited, because I've been doing this. So it's like, can we get back to what matters? I appreciate the attention. And you know what? I've learned something from this experience. And every now and then I will talk about it, sprinkle it in there. I've always done that, sprinkle it in. But it's going to be my way, how I want to do it. I've given it certain thoughts, maybe family things or charitable things that will expose certain stuff, but it's never going to be me holding 2 bricks of money like this, money talks, or whatever stupid things people say with stupid captions and stupid pictures. Like, I'm not going to do that. It's not going to happen.
What are your expectations, or what do you want Cripsology FX in the next year or two, ideally?
For us right now is creating more traders. We've finally acquired like a good amount of people that I can see working with us for a long period of time. I got plans that I can't talk about on here, but
Fair.
definitely plans. And it's very reliant on building real traders. I'm no fool. I know that I'm in a position of power. If you've heard that lesson in the group, I'm in a position of power with this. Time is on my side, as far as I don't have to scramble to figure out how I'm going to grow the business. The business is sustained. It's not the largest one out there, but I know that these people aren't going anywhere, right? The core quality. So I can just focus on getting more people in there that are quality and filtering them through, right? Because there's a filter system. We talked about that in the group. The amount of work the person has to put in. If the person quits, it's okay, right? If the person stays, they might do better for it, right? So the plan for me is just to continue doing what we've been doing. Maybe if COVID subsides a little bit, some meet and greets, right? Maybe some personal stuff. Honestly, the things that I have in my mind have nothing to do with trading for the next 2 years. They have to do with some community impact. So, but that's still complicated, and I still have to figure all that out.
No, I think that's huge. I want to ask one last thing, and I want to kind of go back to family and your wife, because we also had a conversation about this, which I also think is huge, and that comes with being an entrepreneur. There's a forced growth. there, right? And one of the things I asked you at the time, I think it was a month and a half, maybe even 2 months ago, was what does it look like for you to make sure that your family, your spouse, whoever it is, they continue to rise and to continue to grow with you in a way that's effective. And your response to me at the time, and you can go a little bit more in depth, was putting them in positions of power to, I don't want to say a forced growth, but allow them to see and acquire the skills that they need so they can continue to grow. What has that been like, for you over the process? Not just with your wife, but even I'm sure you're doing that with your son and your daughter as well. How has that been like? Just the overall growth of family.
So I am the king of unsolicited advice. I hand out advice and opinions like no one. If I got paid for it, I'd be a millionaire. So it's a multi-millionaire, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Just off that alone. I believe that if your intentions are good and you're not trying to pedestal yourself over other people, you hand out advice from the goodness of your heart. And if they want to listen, they can listen. And if they don't, they don't. Now, when it comes to my wife, my kids, if I see that crash and burn coming, or I see maybe a lack of just wanting to grow, wanting to experience, wanting to expand, maybe some self-sabotage, right? That exists as well. I will say something and I will be very firm about it, because there's nothing worse than elevating by yourself. It's a lonely thing, and you have your family and they were there in the beginning. So I want to make sure that they're there at the end. Also, there's things that I want to do that I want to pass on to my kids, and they need to be mentally ready for that, because what bigger trap is there than handing them something that they didn't earn and they don't understand and they don't value? So those are extremely important to me. Making sure that the kids are good, my wife is good, we're all growing together. We all have goals and separate lives. That's the other thing. Like I don't. This is not a relationship conversation, but like my wife.
One, though.
Yeah, my wife has to have her own life. She has to have her own aspirations. She has to have her own goals. She has to. I mean, for a while, she worked because she wanted to, not because she had to. It's important that we have our own stuff, because if something happens, God forbid, got to be able to recover for that. Got to be able to move forward. Also, you got something to talk about, right? We can't just talk about the same crap every day. I want to know your struggles. I want to know your aspirations. I want to know what's next, right? I want to take chances, right? So what are the ideas here? The kids, same thing. Like my son, he started cooking during the pandemic, right? So he started cooking, got a little skill there. I've already brought it up to him. Hey, look, food truck. I'm a marketer. I can market. I know I can market. I also say I'm a little hilarious at times. So I got ideas for food trucks, and I got ideas for in the food space, in a space that I think we need a little more representation, right? And we need a little more attention there. So I definitely have ideas for him. Does he want to do it? He's only 17, right? He just turned 17. He hasn't even graduated high school yet. There's a lot of conversations there. But for me, I really believe that you have to push people to be better than what they are, even if they're great, right? Even when things are good, offer that advice. What's the problem? They don't like it. And I always, that's the other thing about people knowing how much you make. If you're just like them and you offer them advice, or maybe you're doing a little better, they're more receptive. But the scary part is when they are pedestaling you and you don't know it. Now they're going to maybe think that you're better than them. And that's never the case with me. I do believe that the job of a person is to make their environment better, to create impact, to help people. I think that is the purpose of everything that we do. We place ourselves in a position of power. Like, you created your environment. People listen to you. You have a platform, right? To help people, to impact people. You have to work to get there. And then it becomes, what are you going to do with that?
Man, this was excellent, man. I definitely appreciate it. I don't want to hold up too much of your time, man. But there was a ton of value here, and I thank you for not only sharing your story, but just being vulnerable throughout the process and really giving people perspective on things. Right? at no point in time, and like I said, there's very few people that I do admire, I look up to, especially, authentically, right? And I think you embody that space, right? You've done it. You've voiced it. You've done it your way, and
I
I think
appreciate that, man.
that's definitely extremely important. Even for everyone listening, you know, there's only so long you can fake the funk, right? And
Yeah.
the fact that you're doing it your way not only makes it sustainable, but you like to have fun, right? It's a game, so to speak, for you, and that's
Yeah.
really how you should treat it, right? You can't take life too seriously.
You can't. I mean, at the end of the day, your whole life can't be money, 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 money. I understand what comes with it, but you have to enjoy that, or else you're gonna. I call it flaming out. You're just gonna run out of juice. There's nothing left. Money doesn't solve it, right? Money creates flexibility and gives you options, but it doesn't solve it. It doesn't solve the problems. It doesn't solve unhappiness. It doesn't solve any of that. And I wish we would have had more time to. I know it's getting a little long here, but I wish we would have had more time to talk about that because, like I said, there's something to be said about learning to control your environment. I've said this publicly. People don't understand me at the beginning. I'm number one, right? I come in first. And if somebody says, oh, like, people are like very selfless about their family. They're like, no, they're first. Moms, especially. I see this in moms a lot, where they're their whole lives are their family. But kids grow up, right? And they leave. And then you got years ahead of you. What are you doing? Right? What's next? Some moms, they don't have a plan, and that's tough. You realize, holy crap, I have not lived life. Men, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, right? That's what I was going through. 60, 70 hours and a week, just killing yourself. You're living for a Sunday maybe, right? You're barely having free time. Time flies. You've been in the company for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What you got? Nothing, right? You've just been building somebody else's situation. So I always believe you have to have something on the side that you're building, that you have passion for, that you're excited to get to. For some people, it's a small business. For some people, it could be a club or an organization or something charitable, or maybe goals for traveling. I have no idea, but I think that what's most important is that a piece of us every single day is striving for something that we truly desire and want, that has nothing to do with money and has everything to do with happiness. And that's how this worked out for me. I got lucky. I'm going to be honest. Most of the stuff was an accident, right? The group accident. It just so happens I listened, right? But still an accident. He didn't have to tell me that. Maybe on that day, he didn't want to approach me because he knows how much I hated the idea, right? But it just so happened that he did, right? In high school, for some people, you screw up in high school, that's it. You're in a dead-end job for the rest of your life. It just so happens that my sister gave me a little glimpse of inspiration, and she never said anything to me, but I was watching. So I decided on one day things aligned and things were perfect, and I just decided to ask. And it's my little sister, so that takes a little bit of you got to take a breath.
Yeah. Some humbling, definitely.
You got to humble yourself, and you got to be like, hey, help me out here. My whole life, I've helped her, So it's tough listening to my wife, right? Where she's like, this is not for you. And I'm as corny as it sounds, you're the alpha in the house. Most of the decisions become you, and the tougher decisions, very reliant on you. That whole thing was her. She had the stones to say, hey, look, you're acting like an asshole. The kids are sick of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're miserable. Let's figure this out, right? I feel that's luck. The people placed in your life, the decisions that you make, it's a little bit of luck and a whole lot of taking advantage of the opportunities placed in front of you.
Yeah, and again, it takes a lot, especially, being, 6'4", and just like, to just being, you're always taught. I don't want to say you're always taught, but just being of a certain stature, there's a certain expectation. There's a certain, way people look at you. So for you to just listen, take it in, like, yo, I get it, right? And not have the egotistical or the masculine energy to not listen is definitely huge. So, just recognizing that, or at least acknowledging you for that as well, man, because that definitely takes a whole lot, to do. Me, I'm a little smaller,
But I see you, man. I see those gains.
yeah, man, I'm trying, man.
I could tell those sleeves are picking up a little bit, you know.
Yeah, it's been a long road, but man, I'm happy. I'm not on you and Jonathan's level yet, but I'm working. I'm working. But man, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I appreciate you doing this. I know you say you don't do podcasts. You even stopped your own podcast.
Yeah, it was too much attention.
Yeah, I know. So I appreciate you giving my viewers the attention, but just really just spitting facts. So first thing, how can people find you in case they want to connect with you or speak to you?
I mean, they can find me on Instagram at Gustavo Zapz. Disclaimer, polarizing opinions. Sometimes I just say things because that's what's going on. I want to throw that out there. But at the end of the day, I think that I think most people, when they're around me long enough, they understand where it's coming from. Like, I just want to shake people up sometimes, like wake them up, verbally, digitally, shake them by the shoulders. Like, come on, man, you could do something else, right? Because the most common story that I hear when people want to work with me is pretty much, I hate my life and I want something different. And I can vibe with that. I can understand that, but you don't have to get to that point, right? You can start making small changes. You can start adjusting. You can start reading. That's huge. Expanding your knowledge base, expanding your mind. Traveling is another thing that I think people really downplay, because if you go to certain places, you really do understand that it ain't so bad here. There's a lot of things that we have, even when we're the brokest of broke, there's still blessings there. So it gives you a little bit of clarity, so you're not so much in your emotions, and maybe then you could think forward a little bit. So find me at Gustavo Zapz and message me. I'll respond as fast as I can, and just understand that we're just trying to make some impact out here.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It's good to see, and not only that, just you being you, and just no shortcuts, right? So I
No
get
shortcuts.
the mentality and why you do what you do, and how, like, when you take no shortcuts and you've done everything, and went through those mistakes, all necessary for you to be who you are. It's crucial, man. So it's definitely been a pleasure, man. Definitely on Instagram at Gustavo Zapz. Go find him. He's search the hashtag Zapz Trading Pipsology FX. GUSTAVOZAPZ, just for clarification as well, man. Any final thoughts, any final words?
No, man, I just want to say I appreciate you. Listen, yesterday I was like, oh man, I'm about to cancel on him because this is just not the things that I do, but I'm glad I did it. I got some stuff out that I haven't thought about, and the journey is a long one. There's a lot of ups and downs. What you're doing today, you might not be doing tomorrow. I believe that everybody finds that thing that they know is for them. They know it. It doesn't have to be your whole life, but it could be a good piece of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's huge. I think that is probably key, right? Finding that thing for you, right, and not for anybody else. Not because you think they're cool, or like, you got to find that thing for you.
Yeah, you got to find that thing for you. It's about you.
Yeah. So
it's your story. Got to handle it.
So if you can take that. So anyway, people, it's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Definitely. We're signing out. Peace, guys. Love you guys.
Thanks, brother.